Welcome, everyone. My name is Mike Fogel, and this is how to create the positive cycles that make kids want to practice social and coping skills. And in case you're not familiar with my work, I'm an art therapist by training. I'm a licensed professional counselor with 27 years of experience. And 20-some years ago, I started working with kids with a new diagnosis at the time, Asperger's syndrome. Now it's considered part of the autism spectrum. And I discovered that kids who are neurodiverse across diagnoses all share this same challenge of trying to engage in the neurotypical world, and but finding it sometimes hard to navigate. And so that set me on a course to create social skills programs and a social skills curriculum that would teach kids exactly what they need to know in order to navigate their worlds. And over the years, my private practice, the Child and Family Art Therapy Center, developed the Art of Friendship. That's our social skills therapy program. That's after school and weekends. And in the summers, we run Camp Pegasus, which is a therapeutic day camp. All of these are in the Philadelphia area. Okay. And the presentation today actually unpacks the first half of my book. It's a book that I released in 2020. The Social Emotional Guidebook talks about how to create the ideal social skills training environment in which kids are motivated to repeat and practice their social skills. And also it enables the caregiver or professional to give social coaching in a very compassionate and effective way. We also take into consideration kids' mood and their feelings and how emotion and self-regulation impacts social skills. That's all in the book. But today we're talking about the first half, which is the first 3 letters of the ARCH method of social coping training. And we're going to go over how you can create this ultra positive training environment that doesn't grind kids to a pulp and make them resent or fear social practice. We call it the ARCH, A, because it's a convenient acronym for the contents, but also the overarching approach. It's very holistic, and I think it wraps itself around a child's whole experience. And so the kids that we work with in my programs are across diagnoses who are neurodiverse, and I coined a term for their efforts to engage in the social world, which is that they struggle with social, emotional, cognitive challenges. And the challenge piece is just reflects the fact that my clients and campers are trying to enter and participate in the neurotypical world, but all finding it sometimes confusing, difficult, painful. There's rejection sometimes. Adults and systems sometimes respond punitively. And so this attempts to help kids find solutions and ways to engage. Okay. In this program, we take into consideration a very holistic view of kids and all of people. And so it's very person-centered and very accepting and supportive, knowing that there are these 3 areas of someone's functioning that contribute to the way that they engage with people. The left column are neurological factors. The middle column are psychological factors that impact social and engagement and performance. And there are social factors, one's environment. And the 2 columns on the left and right essentially boil down to nature and nurture. But it's not nature versus nurture. They're both at play at all times. And kids who are neurodiverse with SECCs may struggle with the 5 areas of cognitive functioning. Different aspects of those bullet points may contribute to their misreading or misunderstanding their social world. And so it could be their IQ, making them more concrete thinkers, sensory integration, processing and learning style. How does their mind understand? what they're experiencing. Executive functioning is that part of the brain that's in charge of inhibiting impulses and executing behaviors and plans in a sequenced way. So it's that sort of organizing and the control piece. And the social communication functioning is sort of the autism spectrum suite. But you don't have to have a full diagnosis of autism to struggle with social communication, reading social cues, having expressive language and pragmatic language that fits each situation. So that's brain-based. It's hardwired. It's considered genetic at this time. On the right column, it's the environment. So all those people and places that surround your child, and parents, family, school, camp or activities, peers, what external supports or therapists is your child exposed to? And either of these columns can be, as you can see towards the top, a plus or a minus. That means they can be supportive and a competence, or they might provide a challenge or stress if they are not working ideally for the child. And then there's the middle column. Their psychology, their psychological factors. You can see I have that gears icon. So it's how the child meshes with the world. Our psychology is our stress busting machine. And it's our set of learned social skills and coping skills that it allows us to mesh, to engage with the world. And so our psyche is responsible for keeping us calm enough so that we can engage in our age-appropriate tasks, and keeping us calm enough to engage in our age-appropriate social experiences in the world. And but it's interesting because the left column and the right column, one's brain wiring and the environment, both impact and lean on that middle column. And if they are stressors or if there are challenges in either one, that can make it harder for the child to engage. So where we come in as therapists and as adult caregivers, professionals, and educators, is we can try to help remediate and teach our kids different support strategies and ways to understand the world that can support and remediate the left column, the brain functioning. And we also can create a support environment that's really ideal, that is not a negative, it's a big plus that helps the child learn how to engage and mesh with the world so that they feel competent. They feel better about themselves as a human being navigating the whole world. And we have this icon, someone's relieving this person of the weight of the world, because my message is it's not your child's fault. They simply don't know how to do it. So no matter how many unusual, atypical, or off-putting behaviors your child might do in the context, from the perspective of a neurotypical person, it's not their fault. And we need to have compassion for the fact that it is hard. But the Art of Friendship program with the coping skills and the social skill lessons that we teach, and this ARCH approach can really teach your child how to be social and stay calm. And so I want to have two slides and share two slides with you about the ideal trainer's mindset. So if we're going to create this incredible environment in which your child can relax, unfold, and blossom, there are a few things that, between research and experience and trial and error, I've identified as key mindsets that we have to have going in. Overall, we need to turn negative cycles into positive ones. The kids that I work with at Camp Pegasus and my practice often are in negative feedback loops with the world, where peers might be rejecting them or saying, "Go away, leave me alone." Or they might find it hard to break into the social circle. And from adults, they might get a lot of correction. That was inappropriate. Get back in your seat. Get back in your seat. That's not what we're up to. Back in your seat. So a lot of perpendicular correction, which over time starts to have the child feeling like, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm stressed. I'm anxious. So we want to turn those negative cycles into positive ones. Okay, that's what this whole talk is about. So our mindset needs to be motivational. You want to try to help the child learn what's in it for you. What's in it for you if you can learn this social awareness or this script or behavior that might help you engage just a little bit more smoothly? Is it your reputation that you want to burnish? Is it, do you want to feel more confident engaging and finding friends and making friends? Are those not your goals? Do you simply just want to be able to function better in a group project? So what's in it for you? Okay. Second piece is, this cannot be a control and containment model. Anyone working with a child around social skills need to have an educational and developmental model, knowing there's going to be baby steps. As I mentioned, it's not the child's fault. And so we're not going to be all about, punishment, consequences, and pain, right? And control. Sit down, be quiet, right? That was inappropriate. But instead, we want to have the child learn what they need to learn in terms of thinking about their environment, right? We need them to learn about how to think through social situations and how to select the best possible behaviors. And so to do that, we're going to talk about differentiating between increased behaviors and decreased behaviors. We're just a few slides away from those definitions. Second slide about the ideal trainer mindset is that at all times, we need to be emphasizing theory of mind, which is perspective taking. We want to help the child discover that other people have thoughts and feelings and motivations that are different than themselves. And so then how do you read social cues? And how do those bits of perspective taking and theory of mind, how do they help you engage better? So we always have to be trying to help the child discover what's in someone else's mind and heart. Why did they do what they did? What were they intending? And how does your child's behavior impact other people? What's their role in getting some of the responses that they get? Simultaneously, we want to lead with empathy and compassion, knowing that this is hard stuff. It's as if your child has a social learning difference. And if you think about, if we compare it to someone who has dyslexia, we wouldn't say, okay, person with dyslexia, go, just read more and you'll get better at it, right? It's hard. They have certain blocks that make it hard for them to process, but when they're taught in just the right way how to decode and deconstruct written language, then they're better able to engage and learn that way. So same thing. So we know it's hard, so we want to make it light. We want to make the social instruction accessible and fun, and we want to meet them where they are. We always need to know when to put our foot on the brake and give a child a break and not push, and when to push. And it's very hard. That's one universal concern that I've heard from teachers who are on the front lines, parents and caregivers, not always knowing when to push and when to give the child a little more grace and break. So here's the ARCH method. And in today's presentation, we are going to only cover the A, the R, and the C. We won't have time to get to the H. That's an entire separate presentation. And if you are signing into this today, it will be in 2 weeks from now or so. Look out for notices in your email and in social media. But this is part one where we're going to cover the arc of the ARCH. Okay, so we're going to anticipate and teach, which is skill building and providing structure. We're going to reinforce and reward, which is helping the child to practice, be motivated to practice their social skills and to repeat for mastery. The C is compassionate coaching. Okay, how do we support the child and coach them through social miscues or difficult moments? Okay, so we're going to be doing the C today, the ARC. Let's dive right in. So under anticipate, so this involves proactively teaching social awareness and skills. This could be an SEL curriculum that your child is learning at their school or at a social skills program. Perhaps they are attending My Art of Friendship social skills program, which has a few locations in the Philadelphia area. They also should be directly instructed in emotional coping skills. But then caregivers should proactively plan for kids' participation in all activities. let's proactively understand what the child's processing style is, what they need, and provide precisely the structure that they need to feel comfortable, to settle, to be able to organize themselves in time and space in order to participate. And we also are going to provide structure by WPPing, writing, publishing, and posting, increased behaviors and decreased behavior lists. Okay. So here's a sample of social skills education in our style, in my style. So this is an art of friendship social skills lesson. This is usually one of the first lessons that we teach. And this is social cause and effect. Okay, if kids are not inferentially learning from their environment, they're not learning from their mistakes, they're not reading other kids' social cues and realizing which of the behaviors that they were doing is better or worse. And further, many of the kids that I work with, whether it's because of missing social cues, or if they have ADHD and they have a hard time with sort of figure and ground, knowing which is the most important thing to focus on in an environment, this social cause and effect comes in handy. So this is the if-then action-reaction lesson. So in social cause and effect, we're helping the kids to realize that my behavior causes reactions in other people. Okay, and there's a formula, there's a magic formula. If I act blank, then kids will think something about me, they'll feel something towards me, and then they'll do something in reaction to me, right? If I act blank, if I put a negative behavior in that golden line up there, if I never give kids a turn to be the quarterback when we're playing football at recess, then kids are going to think it's not fair. Kids are going to think he's mean, he's selfish. Well, how are they going to feel in that game? Frustrated, they might feel angry towards me. And what might they do? After a while, they might try to go play a different game if I'm there. Or they might argue with me and try to get someone else to be the quarterback. So, right, so if I act blank, then kids will deliver those behaviors, those reactions, and it's guaranteed. This is mind control. They can't not think, feel, and do negative things if you put a negative behavior in the golden line. But what if you put a positive behavior? What if at recess you say, hey, let's take turns being QB? Then kids will think, well, he's fair. He's a good friend. He's fun to play with. They feel happy that they got a turn to be quarterback and have that role. And what do? They keep playing, they're smiling. Maybe they throw you a great pass and then you score a touchdown. So positive things can happen. So this is a part of teaching kids both proactively how they should act, how they can act in upcoming social settings. And you can also use this poster sort of retroactively to review social miscues. We're going to talk about this later when we talk about compassionate social coaching. So, but this is a sample social lesson and how we use visual aids to help social skills that are very abstract become very concrete and clear. So that's one aspect of the A in the arch. Now for you, the caregiver, you're out there, you're working with kids, you're taking care of your child, and you must know the difference between an increased behavior, which is a behavior you want the child to do more of or start doing, and decreased behaviors. Decreased behaviors are those behaviors you either want the child to stop doing or do less of. And they need very different responses. Increased behaviors need reinforcement, positive reinforcement, good feeling. The kids need to know, be told what it is that they did that was effective, and to get that credit and to have that named. So let's reinforce them. If there are certain deal breaker behaviors that are not okay, they might receive a consequence or some other educational response. So we're going to talk about those as well, right? But so first, we need to focus on the increased behaviors. And to do that, we're going to write some expectations, social expectations or coping expectations, in the form that we call do rules. Because if you parenthetically add the word do before you write a rule, it's pretty much guaranteed that it's going to come out in a positive formulation. You want to tell the child what you want to see them do. So for example, do, parenthetically, follow directions the first time you are asked. Do use your calming strategies. Do use kind words and voices, right? Include others in your conversations. Ask conversation questions and volley the conversation back and forth. So what you want to do is think of the top 3 rules, perhaps, or expectations that you want your child to work on. If your child's older than 8, perhaps you could go up to 5 rules, but the more there are, the harder it is to keep track, and there might be a diminishing return. So start with 3, and you start with 3, make those the rules, okay? Let the child know what you're looking for out of them. And then you must WPP it. Write, publish, and post. Okay, when you write, publish, and post, that means you're going to write down your do rules, okay? Then you're going to publish them. And then by publish, that means you're going to go over them with the child. Hey, Johnny, here are the things that we really want to see you be doing and working on. These are things that are going to help other kids think great things about you, right? Think, feel, do. And they're going to get you great reactions. It'll help your reputation. So these things, okay? And then post them. Put them up in a public spot or a spot where the child's going to come in contact with them. Perhaps in their room, on the back of their bedroom door, on a fridge. So write, publish, right? Let the child know what they are, and post. And this is key because it becomes real. So if the child says, oh man, I want to do that, you can say, well, it's not my rule, it's over there. Right? Here's an example. This is from Camp Pegasus. We go over the camp rules, most of which are in the do formulation. We go over them every morning in our community meeting. Camp rules, notice, do follow directions. Grown-ups must be in charge. Check out number 2. Keep hands and feet to yourself, even if you are a man. So there's a do rule, and that's followed by a few specifics in the negative. These are very specific things that are absolutely deal breakers, not okay. No hitting, kicking, pushing, or biting. One summer we had to add spitting. That doesn't come up every year, so that's not on our main list. Use kind words and voices. Go with the flow. Do what your group is supposed to be doing. So this is one way that WPP looks. So this is the proactive piece, providing structure. Here are some of the social expectations. Now, your do rules, if your child is in a social skills group or an SEL program, I would suggest that your do rules have to do with certain social lessons that they learned. So they learn it in a therapy or education setting, and now it's at home. The child's whole world is their social skills group. And it's up to the caregivers to then activate it, to switch it on. So if you're a teacher, the child might learn an SEL, but that doesn't mean that you just only do your curriculum. You should be reinforcing the SEL lessons in your class, right? It needs to wrap around the child's whole world. Social coaching, when we really simplify it, it boils down to 2 main tasks that you, the caregiver, the social coach, are using. The default setting is ultra positive reinforcement. You want to make the environment so fertile, so rewarding, that the child is being recognized for all the positive social skills that they're doing. Okay, that's going to get them motivated to repeat their social skills, especially key ones that you're looking for. And then on the back end, let's say the child does make a social miscue, which all children do. There's a really compassionate way to teach these social moments, these learning opportunities, that doesn't grind the child's spirit or make them feel bad or weird or defective, and it activates their learning. We're going to go over that today. So we're going to move from A, teaching social lessons and providing the do rules and the WPP. Now your child is living their life. They're out and about in the world. And so we want to reinforce whenever they're using positive social skills. Let your child know which behaviors were the more effective ones and which ones you want to see them repeat. So we're going to go over in this next section TPR, which is targeted positive reflection, and potentially a reward system which you can layer onto that. They're mutually exclusive, but they don't have to be. They can also be used in concert with one another. So to begin with, remember I mentioned we want to turn negative cycles positive. For any adult caregiver, myself included, it's natural and common for us to notice the miscues, to notice negatives. We are trying to get through our day, from wake up to launch, getting kids out to school, getting myself out to work, right? We're trying to navigate our day to then come home, return to our lives, whatever after dinner responsibilities we have, and maybe, just maybe, we get a little time, if we're lucky, to put our feet up and to finally get a little bit of relaxation, right? So it's human nature, whenever something's going right, it's human nature for the adult to be like, phew, like, I don't need to comment on that. Everything happening out there is working, right? So what do we notice? We notice those things that get in the way, the squeaky moments, times where someone's acting up, two kids are conflicting, things are falling apart. Hey, cut that out. Not okay. Right? So not appropriate. So we're catching or noticing the mess ups. And sometimes, if it's really sort of in our face or very disruptive, we can have frustration with it too. So it's human nature to comment on the negatives, but we want to really attend to the positive. We want to notice these little itty bitty social behaviors, micro behaviors, small decisions that the child's making that show that they've selected an effective behavior or they're coping with something. Perseverance, when they're sticking with something that's hard, and any effort that they're giving towards positive things. We want to comment, let them know. Let your child know that you noticed it. When you see it, say it. Okay? So this is going to turn negative cycles positive. This is an approach that that can begin with a short exercise that can really jog it for you, that can really activate it for you. If you spend 5 minutes, take a 5-minute period, grab a pad of paper, and go and sit near a child who's playing or building something. Okay, you could even watch something just on YouTube. There are some YouTube videos of kids at play. So any way that you can do it, and in your pad, try to notice every little move that a child does, down to lifting an arm, moving an arm. What do they say? What do they do? My example is, let's say that you're observing a child who is building with Legos, and the child sits down. So you're on the side and you're jotting down really fast, and you say, and this is what you're writing. Okay, child. Okay, sits down, dumps the Legos. He pulls out a spaceship that he already started working on. He's turning it 360. He's looking. He's like assessing what he needs, where he left off. Okay, picks up a gray piece. No, puts the gray piece down. Picks up a red piece, puts it on, squeezes it. It breaks. It breaks in his hand. Child stays calm, right? Starts to rebuild it, gets it back to its previous state, builds, adds on, puts that red piece on again more carefully, and it continues, right? So notice all those little moments, everything that I mentioned required some mental activity, right? The child's body and brain had to make a decision to pick it up, rotate the spaceship, look at it, pick up a gray. No. So you can see each of those things required essentially a choice. Most of those the child is not aware of. And most of us, if we're not attending to the positive, we're not aware of it either. So what we want to do is, after this exercise, go to your own child or a student, and then start to notice all the little micro behaviors that the child does, especially socially, with their body and space, in relationship to other kids, tone of voice. How close is the child to other kids? Are they participating in play or conversation? How are they playing in play or conversation? How are they joining in? And so you can see it and say it. And the bottom bullet point is we're going to use targeted ignoring for negative behaviors. Let most minor things go, things that don't impact other kids, no one's feelings are hurt, things that actually don't disrupt the flow of the family or the class. Just ignore it. You still can correct things that are impactful, things that are disruptive or hurt someone's feelings, bother someone. That's when you want to do social coaching. But we're going to do targeted ignoring for most minor things. We begin with congruence, empathy, and reflection. Okay, so you want to be joining, and we want to be sensitive to the child, and we're going to reflect what they do. So TPR to the child feels like you are in the boat with them and you are rowing with them. So it's very congruent. You are right with them in the flow of their life. It's not that I mentioned perpendicular correction. Cut it out. Stop that, right? Which is sort of like, it feels like an invasive communication to the child. So when you are reflecting what you're seeing it and saying it, the child feels like you're with them. It decreases demand load and adversarial feel. All those corrections start to make the child might feel defensive and they don't want to let in your messages, right? They're going to put up a shield and block. So when you give TPR, it's like an investment in the relationship. The child feels closer to you. It meets kids where they are. If you're talking about and verbally reflecting literally what you're seeing them do, that is where they are. So this is a method to get very child-centered. And kids feel deeply heard when you're reflecting what they're doing. And so, as I said, see it and then say it. And the other key reason that TPR is critical in terms of your being a social coach and a social trainer is the child with social skills challenges bops throughout their day, often without strong real-time self-awareness. So they're not aware of what their behaviors are necessarily, and they may have a hard time discriminating whether each behavior is working for them or not, right? Which is why they might make similar social miscues over and over. And so with that kind of, flying blind, they're not selecting out because of the feedback loop, which were the effective social skills. Oh, I should do that again. And then I should let go of other ones. So the social trainer is there to take a snapshot of each social moment, which frames it. We're naming that moment, and that makes it real. There's a therapy word that I usually don't like. It kind of bothers me. It's validate. I validated his feelings, right? But truly, literally, the word to validate means to make valid, right? We're making valid, we're making real those behaviors. So when you see it and say it, you've just made that behavior real. So why are we going to focus on negative ones and make those real? Let's make real positive social behaviors, their coping efforts, their work habits. You stuck with it. That was great, even though it was hard. Every decision and choice, when you reflect the child's decision, their choices, you're actually teaching them and reinforcing their agency, their self-determination. And they learn that they have a choice in their lives. They're not passive players. The world doesn't just happen to them. They can make powerful choices in their lives to direct their lives in positive ways. And there are two levels of reflection. So there are tracking comments, which are more behavior and decisions, a little more surface level, still incredibly valuable in social skills, okay? And then there are deeper comments, which are mirroring comments. You're mirroring their emotion. So affective communication is feelings. And so you might mirror their feelings, needs, and concerns. Oh, you're upset about that. That's really frustrating for you, right? Man, this seems hard. It's hard for you to get started. Those are mirroring comments. Tracking comments are, okay, I see you're twiddling your pencil, you're tapping it. Looks like you've got 15 minutes, you've been sitting here for 15 minutes, haven't gotten started, then you can go to mirroring. Is it hard to get started, right? So the script for TPR is all about you, you, you. Here in the Philadelphia area, there's a car dealership that has a commercial. It's on during a lot of sporting events They go, it's all about you at 𝗷𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, da-na-na-na. And so it is all about you. So the language for tracking and for reflecting behavior, TPR, is you. For tracking decisions, you decided to do this. Wow, you changed your mind. That was great. Do that again. What a powerful choice. You can track anytime they're problem solvers. You did it. You're going to take a snapshot of that moment and say, give the child credit for being masterful, for being competent. You solved the problem. Wow, you figured that out all by yourself. You can also track conflict resolution. You two worked it out. Nicely done. Keep up the good work. Or if there's a conflict, wow, you two got past it. You got back to fun. Great. We can also do TPR to help kids rehearse and reinforce their sense of self-awareness and control. So for behavior, you can reflect what they're doing. Whoa, you're climbing pretty high up there. Whoa, your voice is loud. And if you do that and you have a little hands over your ears, the child might dial back their volume. And if you do that a number of times, they can start to realize that, oh, my volume control, I got to tone down my volume. And then there's mirroring for emotion. Well, you're sad about that, right? You sound frustrated right now. Oh, yeah. And then the you and the third one is embedded in your. That hurt your feelings. I get it. That would hurt my feelings too. So kids feel like you are so with them and you're taking a snapshot of these moments. Now, what if a child is being disrespectful? A lot of times, kids will say like, you're the worst parent ever. Well, if you get stuck on the behavior level and you start to comment and you have value judgments about it, go, well, that's disrespectful. That's inappropriate talk. That's not okay, right? I'm not doing this stupid homework. No, I don't like that tone of voice. If you're correcting on that level, you're almost guaranteed that the child's going to stay escalated. They're going to stay upset, and they are not going to problem solve or be able to work through that moment. So complex reflection for disrespect is you hear the words, but you reflect underneath to the emotion. Reflect the emotion, and it's almost like having a balloon that's overinflated, and then you just make a little pinprick right at the knot where the tie is, and it can deflate. It can just relieve some of the pressure. So don't make it about you and feeling disrespected. Instead, help the student work through it, or the child. This is the worst class ever. You are really mad right now. What's up? Right? Go to the emotion. You're in a homework battle at home. I'm not doing this stupid homework. You sound super frustrated. What's making it this hard to get started? Let's see, right? So super frustrated, and then we're sort of reflecting with your question, what's hard about this? Help me understand. And then you can get to problem solving, right? So I call this complex reflection, because you're not reflecting actually what you're hearing, the words, you're reflecting the feelings beneath. Now here's where, if a kid goes, whining. Whining is every child's torture for the adult, right? They know if they whine just long enough, it'll pierce your eardrums and this adult's likely to give in. But it keeps them sounding young. It's immature. It's not problem solving. And in a way, whining is an early attempt at dominating an adult to get your way. So one way that you can do this is to step out of pure reflection, and there you say, "Ooh, I can't hear that voice." But why? No, try again, and you're just a wall. You're just a wall of I can't hear that voice. Try again. And kids actually prefer efficiency. So I can't hear that voice, and you can even say once in a while, I'll be happy to hear a regular voice. And I try to stay away from like big kid voice, little kid voice, big boy voice, baby voice, because that almost has a little bit of an insult. It might sort of be insulting to the child. So I can't hear that voice. Try again. I can't, regular voice. I love to hear a regular voice. And then as soon as they shift to regular voice, Great, now I can hear you, right? Go right back to TPR, snapshot of that moment. Now I can listen to you. And the child's going to experience that as, wow, it's much more efficient if I actually talk and not whine. So there's that. Next, we want to talk about compliance enabling instruction, also helping to decrease negative cycles and increase positive cycles. And here's why. How many times have you tried to give directions or redirect the child, and the child didn't hear you, they weren't paying attention, and you repeated yourself 1 time, 5 times, 7 times, 10 times? Your blood's boiling before you get to 7. Now you're just enraged at this little kid who's not listening, right? It's infuriating to be with people who don't listen. So, but if you are calling to the child from another room, or if you just call into a room and you just give an instruction, but the child's in the middle of something, there's a good chance that your child who is neurodiverse won't hear you, and it won't register because they have hyper focus. So they might be hyper focused on thoughts they're having, on something that they're doing or watching. So make sure that you have, here it says your camper, make sure you have your child's attention, okay? Call their name. Make sure that first you physically bring yourself to the area where they are. There's a good chance if you're calling from a different floor or a different room, your child's not going to hear your instruction. So you might have to, if you have a child who hyper focuses and has a hard time, hearing and responding, it's an investment in the interaction. It's an investment in having a successful outcome if you physically go closer, where at least if you go to the doorway of the same room, call the attention. Johnny, can you think about me? Eyes up over here for a second. Can you pause? Wait until your child orients to you. They're looking away, and they look in your direction. It does not have to be eye contact. Okay, we're not asking for eye contact. That can be overwhelming for many kids who are neurodiverse. It's not necessary, but you do want them to break their focus on that thing that they're doing that's occupying their attention, right? Because if they're here, they're hyper-focused, that's what they're thinking about. So if they orient to you, they've broken focus from that, then give your instruction, brief and clear. So as you're walking to the area where you're going to give instruction, get your thoughts together. What specifically do you want the child to do? So too much language overwhelms, so say what you mean and mean what you say. If you're going to give more than one instruction, more than one step, it's also helpful if you even write it down. If you keep a small dry erase board, 1, 2, 3. We need you to do these 3 things in your room before we go out to soccer practice, right? You need to get your cleats, get your shin guards, get your uniform on, meet me at the door. If you write that, put it down, I'll see you down there in 5 minutes. Your child's much more likely to be able to execute that, right? And patience. This is also a key to the success in compliance enabling instruction, because many of the kids that we work with in my program are slow processors. A slow processor is someone who can be just as bright as the next person. So it's not a measure of intelligence, but a slow processor takes an extra beat to mentally process what you said. They're processing the language, and they also might have to do a little work inside to organize themselves, to put down whatever they're doing, mentally transition. So there are several cognitive tasks involved in stopping doing one thing and then moving to the next task. One of the main things is shift. They have to shift attention, they have to shift focus, then they have to organize their behavior in a sequenced way. So there's a bunch of mental processes. And if your child has any challenge in any of these steps, there's going to be some extra processing time. Therefore, make sure after you give an instruction, actually wait to the count of 5 or even 7, and do it like, you can say Mississippi or 1,000, like 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000 in your head, right? 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6, okay, in your head, 7 Mississippi. And you might notice that by around 6 or 7, Your child puts down their device or whatever they're working on. They look around, they start to clean up, and they start to get ready. And then you shift right back to TPR. Yes, great transition. Right. So make sure you get attention, brief and clear, not too many words, and then give your child the opportunity to comply if they're a slow processor. Okay? If you hover over them and repeat instructions rapid fire, come on, we gotta go. Shoes, your shoes, cleats, shin guards, uniform, come on, let's go. If you keep repeating, your child's gonna be spinning on it, they're gonna be trying to process all that language, and it's gonna take them longer. So the patience piece, you really might find that it makes a big difference in your compliance enabling instruction. Also keeping positive vibes going is power struggles. If there's something that isn't super time limited or time dependent, use the culture of readiness. And by that, I mean knowing that the child might not be ready to do something. It could be anxiety. It could be inflexibility and rigid thinking. The child's perseverating on doing something. And if they're really stuck, and if what you're asking doesn't have a clock, isn't super time dependent, where you're going to be late for something critical, you could say, okay, well, you don't want to do that right now. Maybe later you'll be ready to do blah, blah, blah. This could be for things also like, starting swimming lessons or some new club. Child's refusing. We have to think, well, they might be stressed. They might be anxious, right? Let's talk about this. Right now, this is hard. Okay, maybe later with practice, it'll get easier. And there's another talk that I do, and you can look it up in my YouTube channel, Mike Fogel's Art of Friendship, on anxiety, where we have a whole bit about coping with anxiety and creating a gradual exposure plan to new things. Okay, there's no time in this presentation for that. And but we are going to talk about adding on a reward system. Okay, so TPR alone will create the positive cycles that you're looking for. Certain children may have very ingrained habits, or they're inflexible, or they're anxious about trying a new social behavior. And so sometimes it's beneficial to layer on top of the TPR real-time reward system. So you're continuing to say what you see and hear, see it and say it. Notice the individual, match the intensity with your voice if the child does something, and you want to give tokens randomly. So at home, you can make bucks, you can photocopy, you can make, a grid of 8 on copy paper, 8 rectangles, have your child decorate them. It could be like Mike bucks, Mike money, Becky bucks, Carl cash, that kind of thing. And so you're going to make the bucks, shove them in your pockets, and then while you're giving TPR, then you can give out these bucks in real time. So you create the bucks, you cut them out, and then you want to create some prize options. And it's the most fun. It really engages the child and motivates them to practice their do rules, their positive behaviors. If you can come up with sort of a carnival style prize system, like 3 levels, like small, medium, and large. And then you attach numbers, numeric value to small prizes. So for little kids, preschoolers, 10 bucks for a prize, 10, 15, and 20, or 10, 20, and 30. For your older elementary school child, it could be 20, 30, 40. It could be 20, 40, 60, whatever you want. 33, 69, 33, 66, 99, whatever you want. And any prizes that you come up with just need to be within your family's values. So here, I put a small prize, you get a bonus 15 minutes of iPad time. If that's in your family values, that's okay, if you don't mind using screens as a reward. Some families like to do like a special family outing. Let's go for ice cream, but if you don't want to do food as prizes, that's okay too. Let's go to the dollar store, Five Below, pick out a little toy. Large prize could be something bigger, sleepover with cousins, or a larger ticket item. In your mind, if you're willing to do like prizes, toys, games kind of things, just have a price value in your mind. You know, a small prize is nothing more than $5. Medium is nothing more than 10. Because I had a kid who was like, I want to get a remote controlled helicopter. He showed his mom, and it was like, you know, in the hundreds of dollars. It was almost like investing in an actual helicopter. So set the expectations, right? Proactively. That's the structure in the A in arch. And so then you have your 3 levels of prizes, right? And some of the things that the kids earn prizes for could be the do rules, whenever the child follows directions, or if they keep their hands and feet to themselves. So it's very great to list the behaviors you're looking for that would be bonus behaviors. All right. It's time now to move on. We've now learned about the ultra positive reinforcement piece is TPR. And then if you need, you can layer on some kind of a reward system. But now we're going to talk about the back end, compassionate social coaching and problem solving. Sometimes people mess up. All children are social learners. All adults are. Socialization is a very sloppy affair. It's messy. People mess up. We have rifts in relationships. There's, there's conflict and there's repair. Sometimes we're closer with people. Sometimes we're farther. So we know, but for the child who has an SECC, a social emotional coping challenge, we want to make sure that we are giving social coaching in this compassionate way that's going to be effective. We call it Jeopardy coaching. So as I mentioned, the default setting is positivity. That's catch and praise, catch and give a TPR all the time for all those positive behaviors what the kids are contributing. And then on our balance scale, we're going to tip towards social coaching. And we talk about doing social coaching in question form. That's why we nickname it Jeopardy social coaching. Why question form? Because when we do that perpendicular correction, that was inappropriate. Who just did the social cognition? I did. I evaluated that social moment. I thought, was that comment good or bad? Right? Was that right or wrong? And then I label it to the child. That was inappropriate. Right? Or if I tell the child, get back in your seat, right? That very perpendicular redirection. I just did the thinking in the social moment. I'm the one who recognized, oh, your body's not where it's supposed to be, and I correct. And what that does is the child is pretty much reduced to only having a binary choice, to listen or to refuse your redirection. Does that make sense? Right? So instead, we're going to do it in question form to get the child. We're going to give the child the gift of the social cognition. They're going to think through their social moment. For example, what are you supposed to be doing right now? Child gets off task with something they're working on. Back to my example, you're trying to get out of the house. The child needs to get their cleats, their uniform, and their shin guards. The child, you check back at the door, and the child's reading a comic book. Okay, so you can go to the child. Wait, Johnny, what are you supposed to be doing right now? He goes, oh. He remembers, and he snaps back into activity. Good thinking. Yes, you are looking for your shin guards. All right, keep it up. Get all 3 things. And then off you go. If your child wanders away from where they need to be, they wander away from the homework table or dinner table, or if you're a teacher, if they wander away from their spot, you can ask, where does your body need to be right now? And you'll see the child think for a second. Usually they'll look back where they came from, and then whoosh, off they go. And then they'll reorient themselves. If you're giving instructions or teaching, and the child's off task, you say, Johnny, eyes up here. Okay, check in with me with your eyes. Who's giving instructions right now? He goes, you are. You go, right, all right, you are with me, right? And then you can just say, as soon as they answered that, he's with you. It's a softer, you're gonna redirect him anyway. Why not do it in the soft way that gets the kids thinking socially? You can also do it to help the kids learn how to think through different social situations. To help the child read social cues and consider someone else's feelings, take their perspective, we can say, hey, Sam, take a look at Emily's face right now. Does she look happy or sad right now? What can you do to help her get back to fun. Or remember the action reaction poster? Ooh, what will your friends think of you if you do blah, 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 if you do that? How can you make them think great things about you? So here you can use all of these questions to get the child to do the social cognition. You can also do social coaching, helping kids to take more responsibility for themselves, to help them realize that they can make positive choices in their lives. So evaluating, let's say after the fact, a child, something socially bad just happened. Let's say that your child had expected to be invited to a certain birthday party and wasn't. It turns out your child may have said something mean to this child 2 weeks earlier, before they sent out the invitations, and so he was uninvited. So now your child's not invited. The other kids are going to the birthday party, and so you can talk, and you want to talk, asking questions about motivation. So, man, this really stinks. Man, I know it's really upsetting. On a scale of 1 to 10, how upsetting is it for you that you were not invited to this party? It's like 9. That's really upsetting, right? I know, right? So you can give empathy, reflect the feeling, and then you can say, so now, do you ever want this to happen again? So what can you do next time, right? To make sure that you don't offend him, to make sure you don't hurt his feelings that same way, so that you can be invited. He's been a good friend for so long. Thinks for a second. Charles says, maybe I can go apologize, and then I promise I won't say that ever again. Great thinking. All right, you solved that, right? You can also ask, what behavior would be your road to happiness? The road to happiness is one of the social lessons that we teach in the art of friendship. Here's social coaching if 2 kids are actively in a conflict. So you swoop in, let's say 2 kids are yelling at each other, things have escalated. Hold on, time out, guys. Wait a minute. What just happened here? Child A, how did that make you feel? Okay. Now, but think about your friend's face. Do they look happy or unhappy with you right now? Child B, take a look at his face. Does he look very happy right now? You're both upset. What can the 2 of you do right now to get back to fun? Right? What can the 2 of you do to get back to fun? So that's the key question. But we ask a few questions ahead of time. Remember, ideal social coaching focuses on theory of mind, other people's perspective. And now we're going to try to get back to fun, knowing that you're both upset. Right? Back to this poster. You can use this to coach. If your child has just made a social miscue, let's say they told someone that their new haircut was ugly. Okay, that was their truth. They thought they were being truthful, right? True, but it also was hurtful. Now that child was upset, they were crying. So you can say, wow, hold on, can we back that up for a second? No, if you are too truthful and say things that might hurt someone's feelings, then kids are going to think, what are they going to think about you? I'm mean. How do they feel? Sad. Yeah, she's crying. Good thinking. Well, what might they do? They might not want to play with you. They might withdraw. You're not playing with them right now. She's crying. Right. So next time, what could you do? What could you think or do next time to make sure that your friend doesn't feel bad, even if you're thinking something that's true? Well, maybe I can hold it in, and so I'll be like, yeah, you can hold it in. Maybe you can hold it in and tell your parents later, oh my gosh, Mary had the ugliest haircut. But don't tell it to Mary, right? So yeah, that's great. Use that next time. So think about someone else's feelings and try to hold in your truth. Yes, it's true to you, but you can hold it in. We call that the social fake. The social fake. Okay. So that's how we can use this on the back end. So you can use it proactively. What are you going to do that, in the future going to a certain activity? And also reviewing social miscues. We'll also teach problem solving. as a part of social coaching. Let's say that life throws you an obstacle. There's this boulder that gets in the way of your fun. Here you are on the road of your life. You want to get to that happy place. You want to get to your next goal, whatever you wanted. And there's an obstacle in your way. That's so frustrating. How can you get past the obstacle? Well, you can go, in the picture, you can go over, around, under, or you can drill through it if you have like a super mole man digger machine, right? So in the picture, you found 4 options, 4 ways to get around the obstacle. Well, let's see if you can start to list 4 options past your obstacles in life, those things that are hard. Let's say homework is hard, right? What can you do to get through it more efficiently, with less screaming and crying, so you can get to your fun faster? You can get to your free time faster, right? Let's list 4 options past it. As you're doing this social coaching, I want to encourage you. Your child might come up with really outrageous answers for number 1 and number 2. They might say, like in the homework example, we can set it on fire, we can decapitate the teacher. And I'll go, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write those down in the lines, because if I start censoring, now I've discouraged the child, and the child feels like I'm censoring them and I'm a downer. It's frustrating. So I accept even wild suggestions for the first 1 or 2. And then after that, I say, okay, well, those are pretty fun and funny. But now let's do a couple of really realistic ones. Like, what are ones that actually might work for you? Much easier to accept and then build on than if you shut it down, they're going to be frustrated. They're creating a power struggle. And then it might blow up the whole problem-solving conversation. So this is a fun image that you can use as a structure, so that the child has something concrete in front of them to write down options in. There is also a Think, Feel, Do Problem Solvers worksheet. I will be sending it to all of the participants. Everyone who registered for this Zoom presentation will get a copy of this Think, Feel, Do Problem Solvers worksheet. And remember, Think, Feel, Do is on the action reaction poster. And the child can literally see, if you follow this out to 2 lines, first we go down the bottom part. So first we write on the left, what happened? And what did I want? So what was the problem? Then you unpack actually the ineffective thing, the social miscue, the thing that didn't work well. What was I thinking? I must have thought something that was inflexible or not effective. I'll never do this. I must always get that, blah, blah, blah. So there's 4 little thought bubbles there that might suggest some common thoughts that might get in the way. Well, then how did you feel? How did your thoughts and feelings, what did they make you do? Think, feel, do. What did you do that didn't work out for you? I blurted out that my friend's haircut was ugly. Okay, well, what's a new way that I can think about it? Well, maybe, I can remember that any kind of criticism might hurt someone's feelings. So unless it's something that's going to make their lives better, I'm going to hold it in. How will I feel if I have that new thought? Calm, neutral. And what are things I could do? I can hold it inside. I can tell my parents later, oh my gosh, he had the ugliest haircut. It's much better to talk behind someone's back if you have a critical comment than to say it right to them, All right. So this is an example of how you can use a Think, Feel, Do worksheet, and you're all going to receive a copy of this. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, reach out to me if you would like a copy of this worksheet. All right. And the H I mentioned that we are not going to get to today. That's going to be in a subsequent presentation, and it is already uploaded in Mike Fogel's Art of Friendship YouTube channel. And this is all about using more about the reward system, also consequences. So how to use rewards and consequences to shape behavior and have a child feel really held and supported to decrease anxiety and increase their ability to engage in a constructive social skills training program. So this is what we covered today. The ARC, the Anticipate and Teach For reinforcing and reward, that's the default setting as kids are living their lives. Try to give that TPR all the time. And then for a mess up, you pivot to compassionate coaching using Jeopardy coaching and question form. All right. Once again, my book, the Social Emotional Guidebook, supports and teaches you how to do a lot of the stuff that we talked about today. It deepens writing about TPR, Jeopardy coaching, and it also talks about what happens if there are big emotions. And we also talk about the H and how to create that supportive behavior environment. All right, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. Please leave comments on the YouTube channel, and it was great to be with you. Have a great day.